Picture a dry African riverbed. A 400-pound lioness has a tiny honey badger cub clamped tightly in her jaws. By all the normal rules of nature, this hunt is over. But then, two 30-pound adults come sprinting out of the brush. They charge straight into a pride of apex predators to get their cub back. The lions, severely intimidated by the aggressive shrieking and snapping, end up dropping the cub and wandering off into the savannah, looking visibly defeated. We're talking about an animal roughly the size of a kitchen toaster staring down 7 lions and winning. It is exactly this kind of behavior that earned the honey badger the Guinness World Record for the most fearless animal. To understand what is actually happening here, we have to look at the scale. For a predator, every meal is a calculation, the caloric reward of eating versus the risk of getting injured. The honey badger is not crazy, and it certainly isn't suicidal. Over millions of years, it has evolved a highly specific set of biological weapons designed to completely bankrupt that energy equation for anything trying to eat it. This chart shows the top speeds of African predators compared to their prey. A lion or leopard can easily hit 80 kilometers per hour. A honey badger maxes out around 30. If they turn and run from a big cat, they will be caught. Since fleeing is a guaranteed death sentence, their first line of defense is to stand their ground, protected by a layer of rubbery skin that is 6 millimeters thick, tougher than the hide of a Cape buffalo. Beneath that thick exterior, the skin sits incredibly loose against the body. If a leopard bites down, the slack creates a buffer. The badger's skeleton rotates 180 degrees inside the skin, while the teeth stay locked outside. This leaves the leopard face-to-face with bone-crushing jaws and claws, violently thrashing at its eyes. A successful capture becomes a liability for the predator, as they risk losing an eye or suffering a permanent injury for a relatively small meal. Beyond surviving predators, honey badgers live in environments where finding enough calories requires targeting highly dangerous prey, like the arid red sands of the Kalahari. To survive, they actively hunt some of the most venomous snakes on the planet, including the deadly puff adder and the Cape cobra. They manage this thanks to a rare genetic mutation. Mammalian mussels have nerve receptors called nicotinic cholinergic receptors. As this molecular model shows, the honey badger's receptor shape has mutated, physically blocking snake neurotoxins from locking in and shutting down their nervous system. If a badger takes a direct bite to the face during a fight, the venom still affects them, but instead of dying, they slip into a temporary coma-like state. A few hours later, the badger simply wakes up, shakes off the neurotoxin, and finishes eating the very snake that bit it. By evolving molecular immunity to venom, honey badgers monopolize an entire toxic food source that other predators are forced to leave alone. Relying entirely on brute biology will only get an animal so far. Surviving the savannah also requires intense mental processing. Honey badgers have demonstrated remarkable problem-solving skills. When placed in human enclosures, they have been observed stacking mud, rocks, and logs to build functional ladders to escape over the walls. In the wild, they use this spatial awareness to map complex environments and exploit difficult food sources, like systematically breaking into heavily defended beehives. There is even strong observational evidence that they cooperate with small birds called honey guides. The birds locate the hives, lead the badgers to the exact location, and then feast on the leftover beeswax after the badger cracks it open. This combination of tool use, memory, and potential cross-species cooperation acts as a final multiplier, ensuring they can outsmart any threat they cannot outfight. Here is the ultimate irony about the world's most fearless animal. It actually feels fear. Honey badgers actively try to avoid conflict whenever they can. They use their sharp senses to sniff out fresh leopard tracks in the sand, and when they do, they will furiously dig into a burrow to hide out of sight. Their legendary ferocity is a deliberate, highly calculated switch that they only flip when they are cornered and completely out of options. When we look at the scale again, that switched-on ferocity makes perfect sense. By weaponizing their thick skin, venom immunity, and intelligence, the badger instantly shatters the reward side of the predator's equation. The badger thrives because it raises the entry price of a hunt until it is too high for most predators to pay. By weaponizing biological defenses and tactical avoidance, this survivor has successfully hacked the African food chain.